Well, hello, here we are at the end of another long training week. It's nice to catch up at the end of the week. Hopefully everyone's had a good training week anyway. I certainly have. I've eaten a few to the face, I have to say, this week. And what else? I've known a senior student broke the bag at the gym for the third time. We'll be getting barred soon. I did actually get well, first of all, it's not like a fight gym, so it's it's a just like a standard training gym, but they got pretty good bags there, but obviously they get damaged. And first of all, I got banned from kicking it. Then I got banned from doing most Ichuan stuff. They told me it wasn't appropriate. It was scaring other people. It wasn't for that kind of training. Like what? It was just code for I don't know really. There's plenty of people at the gym who can hit really hard, but I think just like swinging it about and elbowing it and pushing it and shouldering it and stuff like that, people don't like that. They find it quite intimidating. But it's interesting that it's like the social construction of violence. You can punch it, but you can't headbutt it, apparently. So anyway, today I wanted to talk about. I've seen a video. There's been a couple actually, but I've seen this 2-3 weeks ago. And it's this individual, and I may as well just name him because it'd be more mealy mouthed not to at this stage. Name. Oh, sorry. I know, you too. Byron Jacobs from the Mushin Culture website, which is a really successful website, and it does some really useful stuff actually. It translates some stuff from old Chinese television about traditional wushu, and although I don't necessarily talk about that massively, I'm really interested obviously in traditional Chinese wushu. So that's really useful, and there's lots of podcasts people find really interesting, and I think he's got a big online teaching program which people find very useful because it's and he supplies stuff around Xing Yichuan and Bagua training, which people find very useful, which is all good. That's all good. We approve of all of that, don't we? But what I want to talk about is something that I don't approve of, and that's when you can't take that traditional stuff and put it into a practical live format. And what I'm going to say is, right, just first up straight away, if you could do that, you'd do it. So let's just make no bones about it. I don't want to be mealy mouthed about it and start saying, well, maybe you can do it. And it's very personal to me, because I think go and look at the way I move when I'm sparring. That's the essence of Xing Yichuan. So I've got on this. Byron has told me personally that I understand nothing of the essence of Xing Yichuan. That's all very abstract, isn't it? The essence is in practical use, obviously. So the issue is this dilemma, and I'm calling it Byron's dilemma really, because he keeps making these videos. And what he's trying to do is speak to this debate around people who say traditional Chinese martial arts are useless. And one thing that Byron says that I'm going to pick up again, I've said it myself before many times actually, which is absolutely correct, is that these discussions are very often racist. They're crypto-racist, they're dog whistle racism, and it works along the line of, all this stuff is bullshit, so Chinese culture is bullshit, and the people who believe in it are idiots. That's the dog whistle, crypto racist thing that these professional debunkers do. And the way I speak and the things that I talk about, you might think I see myself somehow as allied with these professional debunkers, and I really don't. But I can talk about that another time. Got some white guy in Europe saying, "Prove to me that your bullshit works." It's like. Anyway, Byron speaks to this debate, gets involved in this debate, and every so often he makes a video about it. and they're always interesting because they're always like the right thing, but used for a really bad purpose. Like, it's always emphasising the enrichment of your life, and that's always couched in the idea that there's so much more that wushu gives you beyond fighting, and it emphasises that. But then at the same time, also is based around not just the implication but the direct assertion of actually being able to use this stuff practically. So it's kind of a what we used to call moat and castle. Like, if you talk about fighting, they'll talk about health, you know. And if you say, why are you talking about health, and they'll talk about fighting, it's like they'll just keep switching back and forth and just gaslight you all the time, constantly about it. And I mean, frankly, I'm sick of that. So that's what I'm saying. You know, like, if you really could use it practically, then you would. All of these people would, who have these channels with. There's a very successful channel, Mushin Culture. It's not just about his videos. I know that, but that's the thing. You know, like demonstrating traditional wushu, emphasising that it's about health and well-being and life enrichment, but also selling T-shirts that say "Invincible Xing Yi Chuan Crushing Fist," which is just, I don't like it. Particularly when it's also has this other thing we'll talk about in a minute of telling people that it's about spirituality. There's nothing spiritual about lying, and there's nothing spiritual about feeling secretly in your heart like a day-by-day shame that eats you from the inside, that you are publicly presenting yourself as a top level wushu master, but you know that you can't ever use it. You can't use it in any kind of live scenario. If he could, he would. That's the absolute reality. If he could, he would. And if he did, by the way, he wouldn't have 10,000 followers. He'd have 5, or he'd have 150. You know, because the market in Chinese wushu that he's advertising to is people who want to be told that it's okay not to be able to actually use your wushu, that's okay, and that you can still pretend to be a wushu master even if you can't. That's the market. Now, I don't care about any of that because I'm not trying to sell T-shirts or make money out of anyone. I'm quite like Wang Shangjai. I'm happy to speak to 5 people over the next 1,000 years. You know, that's the way to think about it. I'd rather have one honest follower on YouTube who's truly trying to find the truth, rather than 10,000 people who just, you know, want to buy into this fake thing. Anyway, let's talk about it for a minute, because should explain, I suppose, what it is that he's arguing in essence, and but remembering all the time that he does always bring it back to this idea that he is talking about fighting, and he'll say things like, you know, fighting is the thumb that holds the fist together, and then if you criticise him, he says, yeah, but no, you're not listening to me, because I've emphasised that fighting is the most important thing. And then it's like, no, what you're doing is repeating the problem back to me. You're emphasising fighting, but you never ever show any practical use of that ability that you're talking about, that you're selling T-shirts about, that you're literally talking about as being like crushing, you know, and like the way he describes the techniques that, you know, I know it's all salesmanship and all that, but talking about him as being really powerful and stuff like that. But there's no video of him hitting a punch bag, not that I've been able to find or anything like that. So it's very problematic because it misleads people. So the argument in essence is that you've got people saying traditional Chinese wushu is rubbish, and he comes in and he says, look, don't think of it like that. You've got to rethink how you think about wushu. There's far more to it. It's life enriching. It gives you a purpose. It keeps you fit. For non-Chinese people, it helps you explore a different culture. It gives you a space in your life where you can just put everything else aside and just focus on this thing. And also, he emphasises a lot of spiritual development, which just flew up a little bit in my mouth when I said that. He emphasises spiritual development. There's nothing spiritual about being eaten from the inside every single day of your life, knowing that you sell all this stuff but you can't actually use it. Before anyone says like go over to China and have a fight with him, go and see last week's video. That's never going to happen, because I don't bully people, I don't threaten people into believing what I say. But you've got to keep in mind, right, if you think like that, this will never end. It will never end ever, right? The pressure's got to be on him to get with his people, get the gloves on and make it work. And it's not that he couldn't. It's not that he couldn't. He trains with me for 1 year. He can use that stuff in to some degree in a practical situation, you know, against a certain level. I mean, we're all limited. We're all amateurs, you know. We're not like the project for me of Ichuan and traditional wushu getting up to that level where it can compete in UFC and stuff like that. That's beyond us, you know. We're just going to be a stepping stone in that, if we can make it happen, you know. It's certainly beyond me. And there isn't enough anyway. There isn't enough in traditional wushu to make that happen. It's about integrating with stuff that's already done. That's a whole other story. So he comes out with this list of things about why, and what he says eventually, puts out another video a few weeks ago, and he says, you know, you've got to find joy in your training. Your goal should be joy. And this sounds really great at first, and it's actually something that Wang Xinjai spoke about and criticised, and it's hard to see at first because it seems so right. But just imagine like being drugged up, like say someone's just giving you ecstasy by intravenous drip every day, so you just feel totally loved up all the time. And it's the story of Brave New World, isn't it? Like, and also that was redone in a really great TV series if you haven't seen it. You know, they just, on the TV series, they just take drugs all the time to keep them happy. They call them by colours, you know, different colours that make you feel joy all the time. And what that does is it hides the truth. You don't see the truth of things. And anything bad that happens, you just take a pill and it's, you know. That's a real thing, by the way, because in an alienating system of global capitalism, you know, drug use is off the scale, legal and illegal, and alcoholism, and people just, you know, there's something, without getting too radical about it, there's something about the system that a lot of people are so deeply unhappy that they are using substances to get through it, right? Would you rather have that, or would you rather have the truth? Get stone cold sober and see the horrible truth. And this is the choice, this is the dilemma. This is Byron's dilemma that he poses and gives you the wrong answer in mind. No, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say there's no right or wrong answer. Truth, or joy, as he puts it. You know, joy, should be joy in your training. Would you rather have truth or joy? Like, would you rather have real ability, or would you rather feel really enriched by a lie? That's the stark choice that he's offering you. But you can probably tell from what I'm saying, like I don't believe that anyone really is happy with that lie. Not on the inside. Not on the inside. It must be horrible to be criticised by me. I think he thinks I hate him or something. I don't. I just dislike like it's so dangerous. Like for the project, you know, like particularly like the promotion of Ichuan, which the idea was you're going to bring this like Yao Zhongzun says, it's an empirical fact that the principles of Chinese wushu are world leading, right? It's an empirical fact. How do we go from the current situation where it's a laughingstock into a situation where those principles are actually being used to train pro fight athletes, you know, like and real, not illusory, like so Byron does this thing where he says he competes in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and the principles of Xing Yichuan and Bagua pass over into that. That's another special kind of lie that we can talk about another time, I think, you know. It's a bit like there's another Yichuan teacher who says the principles of Yichuan are invisible, which is a wonderful lie, isn't it? Like then you can, that's how they get away with saying things like Mike Tyson proves Yichuan. Or people whose Sandar looks just like everyone else's Sandar, who doesn't do Zhanzhuang and who doesn't do Yichuan. That's how you get away with saying, yeah, look, Yichuan works. Look at these Sandar students. It's like, yeah, but these Sandar students don't do any Yichuan training, and these are just as good, if not better than these. So all these kind of clever lies people come up with to get around the fact that actually they don't understand the real principles at all, and they can't use them. They can't apply them in any. You know, let's be clear. I'm not saying I applied them in like elite level. I'm not capable of that. I'm not that good. You know, it's stepping stones. What I've done is made a transition into a stepping stone where to an initial degree, we can begin to do that and see how that works and how we can then take it further, which is the same thing that's happened in every martial art that's then gone on to, be competing, world leading. In boxing, Muay Thai, Judo, when you look back in the past, the evolution, there's been an evolution of level, just not in traditional wushu, because you've got these people who are bound feet. They think like this thing in the past that they claim to be the, for whatever reason, they claim to be the guardians and representatives of, like, and it's just this unchanging thing. And so that's another thing that Byron emphasises, that you learn. I mean, as I see it, he's saying basically like you've got this antique and you can kind of learn it, and it's a precious antique. Why is it precious? Because it's an antique. Well, that doesn't make it precious to me, because it's old, An old lie isn't a truth. It isn't a more valuable lie just because it's old. I'm saying Xing Yichuan is a lie. It's far from being a lie. That's why I'm so mad about it, to be honest. I have a hot temper. So let's break all that down a bit first. So imagine a running club where people go jogging and they do a bit, meet up. It's really rewarding, it keeps them fit. It's a space out of everything else where they can forget about everything. And you see where I'm going with this. It's all the same things that Byron talks about, that training in wushu would do if it's reasonably healthy. I'm not sure that training in wushu definitely does keep people healthy, because it's, when you look at like a lot of the people who are claiming to be, wushu, traditional wushu masters, a lot of them look very unhealthy to me. Look like they couldn't fight 10 seconds without throwing up. So I suppose we need to get around that, and like what I'm always trying to do is use me as the example, not because I'm like elite level, but because I'm the first, me and people like me are like that kind of first initial stepping stone to kind of going further, and eventually, there'll be people who like, hopefully one day we'll just be a joke to these people who are like, top level pro fight using each one and stuff like that. But I'm 53, put some stuff on my Facebook page, put plenty of stuff up, but I was thinking of one a couple of weeks ago, Saturday morning, 10 o'clock, hungover, 8 rounds of sparring, and you can go and put the highlights up, and it's pretty full on sparring. Do you know how fit you need to be to do that? It's off the scale, right? And look at the way I move, for 53. You want to talk about the reality of health and fitness, right? I don't see any of these people move like that, if we're honest. So doing some basic forms moves and putting like really exciting music over it, and then putting a description saying it's like, the explosive force of. Who's buying that? Seriously, who's buying that? I'll tell you, thousands of people are buying it, and they're buying it because they want to be told. They want to be told that it's okay not to be able to use it. But imagine that club anyway, that jogging club, and they all feel like all these things, and maybe there's even a certain spiritual thing. If we want to be generous, in my experience, these people who claim to be the arbiters of traditional wushu are the worst people in the world. Like they're the least spiritual. They're just abusing other people out there. I'm certainly not saying this about Byron, but other people. Seems like a really nice person, actually. This is the thing to emphasise. He seems like a nice person, and his heart's in the right place. And a lot of the things that he says are right. It's just that his theory is wrong. His theory is wrong, and it's deviated him. Like I've always talked about, like Wang Shangjai talks about, it's deviated him down the wrong path, where he's suddenly found himself in a position where he can't actually show this stuff in practical use. He just can't. But he could. That's the really infuriating thing. He could, if he just, it's actually him who needs to change his goal. But we'll talk about that. So we've got this running club, and that's great. That's absolutely fantastic. It's just stay in your lane, right? That's your lane, right? Stay in that lane. Don't then start talking about saying like, you're the equivalent of Olympic long distance runners. In fact, you're better than Olympic long distance runners. I mean, this is what you get, isn't it? Like, there's this sense of superiority over people who fight in the UFC. We've talked about that before. How you got all these pompous charlatans who are like, oh, that's all ugly, you know. And even in Ichiran, people, so-called Ichiran people saying that, then Wang Shangjia wouldn't have agreed with the UFC. I may have talked about that before. He didn't agree with people making money out of athletes hurting themselves like that. But he did agree with, like, you know, like the competitive format and stuff like that. Done for the sake of truth, not for the sake, because again, this is exactly what Wang Shangjia was trying to get across all along. Whatever the outcome, whatever the purpose, whatever the goal, deviates the training. So even money and competition wins deviates the training. It perverts it along a certain line. Well, nevertheless, like, imagine if they start saying this, you know, like we're equivalent to like Olympic runners, and not only that, we're better than them. This is the kind of it's like a mind screwing thing where like, on the one hand they're saying like actual fight training is vulgar, but on the other hand they're always insinuating that they're really badass and they can really fight, and actually, you know, they're better than these people. So these two things all the time that they're marrying, and this is like the evil yin yang that's in their heart, that's slowly corrupting them and grinding them away as it turns round and round and round. The pretense of being real, and then all the lies that you have to tell to cover that, and all the bullshit and all the complex videos you've got to put out talking about spiritual development and learning about another culture. The essence of Xing Yiquan isn't in another culture. It's not in your teacher. I mean, yeah, it is in your teacher. It's inside them. The essence of their Xing Yiquan, and yours is inside you. You know, or the key is anyway. You know, like, in all the knowledge, it's about your body and how your body moves. So anyway, we'd laugh, wouldn't we? We'd laugh at this running club. You got some, like, you know, reasonably okay athletes, and you've got some that are overweight and just joined, and you've got, you know, when you see a running club run past, and there's always one right. There's 200 yards behind. That's me. I hate running. That's always me. And these are saying, like, you know, we're going to beat the world. It's like, we could if we want to. And you say, well, let's see then. You know, we'd all laugh, wouldn't we? Wouldn't it? You just say, go on and get trialling for the Olympics. Oh, I'm above all that vulgar stuff. You know, if we just transplanted Chinese martial arts to that and saw it like that, we'd just be rolling on the floor laughing. But now you can get like 10,000 followers and sell loads of videos, and believe me, it's not an issue of bitterness. I've got a really great job. I've got a really well-paid job. It doesn't. You can see I don't have any paywalls or anything like that. I'm not asking for money. Everything I do is out of love of promoting Chinese wushu, Chinese physical culture. It's all about that. So having said that, I'm prepared to charge for books. That's my thing. You know. I'm not bothered about the money they're making. That might be how they think. I'm bothered about the money that's been taken off other people and the way other people are being misled. But what we would say is it's fine, isn't it? It's fine for those people who are doing that running club, as long as they stay in the lane. And we should think like that for, you know, wushu, people who are enthusiasts, as Zhao Daoxin will call it. They're enthusiasts. You're not doing it because you want any kind of realistic ability. You like just going to the club. You like doing the forms. You like doing the training. You like meeting people, going for a meal afterwards. Excuse me. We've all been there. We've all done that, and it's great. Yeah, that's absolutely fine, but you've got to stay in your lane. You can't then start giving it a large one about also being for real and gaslighting people by saying, look, but I've said, you know, fighting is the most important thing. It's not what you say, it's what you do. Like, if you can't practically demonstrate it, then it doesn't matter what you say. All you're actually doing is repeating the problem and pretending that you're answering the criticism, which is quite interesting. You can't use this stuff in a real situation. I've already said that using it in a real situation is the most important thing. So no, you're just repeating the criticism. You're not answering it in any meaningful way. But that analogy, as ridiculous and enlightening as it is, doesn't even begin to cut into like the reality of what's going on here. So we've got to extend the analogy. Let's say you see these people jogging along, and they've all got two legs, but they're all hopping. They're all hopping on one leg. So you run alongside one of them, which is pretty easy because it's the one who's 200 yards at the back and who's hopping. It's me. You say, "Hey, what's going on here?" And they say, "Well, this is like the supreme level running method. Actually, this would easily beat Olympic runners in long distance running and sprinting and anything. It's far superior than anything." And you just say, "What?" Right? That's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about when you see people doing like I'm not saying it's not about techniques, and how many times Wang Shengzai emphasizes it's not about techniques, and the level and degree of like how brilliant that is and the depths. It's like it's the ultimate Taoist thing, isn't it? Like the simplest things that you just overlook. Oh, this stupid little idea. It's the most profound thing that just keeps opening up forever and ever and ever. It's not about techniques, so it's not about whether Beng Chuan effectively works. I mean, there's video of me using Beng Chuan in a live scenario with someone trying to punch me back in the face, right? I'm not selling videos about Xing Chuan. So there's more evidence that I can do that than there is that Byron or pretty much any Xing Chuan teacher can do that. It's not about techniques at all. It's about the training methods and the quintessence principles that are using those training methods, and the coaching practice and the things that you're doing in your training, and the way you should be dialectically interacting that with fight training. And this brings us on to the idea that Byron talks about goals, like making your goal joy. And it's so alluring. Now, just imagine this, right? Like you're given a choice, right? You can, and he talks about joy and he talks about enrichment. You can have this really enriching experience where you go somewhere and you put on these robes and you can basically role play being a wushu master, a wushu expert, and you can all talk to each other and tell each other how great you are, and you find this really enriching. It's an enriching thing in your life. It's really good. And then someone comes along and says, "Yeah, but let's say we take all this away, and instead, like, you're going to have real ability, but you're not going to be happy. What would you choose?" And there's only certain people who are going to choose truth, right? There's only certain people who are going to choose that. And Wang Shengzai talks about this explicitly. It's not like me interpreting what he said. He explicitly outlines this idea as a kind of Buddhist concept that, like, he links it to the Buddhist concept of attachment. So if you're attached to anything, if you're attached to any goal, whether that be joy, winning a competition, yeah, you can achieve it. So yeah, you can pursue your competition, and that's great for a time. Yeah, but we're talking about evolving over a long period of training. He says, like, if you want to find like the essence, the real essence of wushu, the essence of Xingyi, you've got to want it for no reason. So not even truth, like even attachment to the idea of truth will deviate you along the path. That off the path. That's where you end up with these ossified orthodoxies where everyone's claiming to know the truth. The truth's abstract. What you've got to pursue is the real ability in practical terms that your body can actually do. And that's not techniques, it's application. It's application in some kind of live environment, or application, like in terms of power generation and stuff like that, hitting a bag. Being able to hit a bag with power and then expanding that, being able to hit in combination with footwork and all fight craft and abilities of being able to use it. And the same applies for self-defense. Don't kid yourself. That's the other illusion, isn't it? Like the pretense that you're above all of that and you're just badass and self-defense techniques are going to work, and all that's just been rehearsed a million times. Everyone knows the arguments. And the problem is like pursuing being loved up, with your fake wushu lifestyle. Pursuing that doesn't bring happiness in the end. It can bring a lot of things. It can bring a lifestyle. You might even find a partner. You might be living in another country, a different life. You might think you're living the dream. But if you truly started out wanting real wushu, that will eat you. That will eat you from the inside day by day. Most people it won't, because they never really wanted that anyway. That's the reality. That's why you can get thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people will follow a channel talking about that kind of stuff, and almost no one will be interested in the kind of stuff I'm saying. But that doesn't matter. It's not about numbers. It's about people getting it. Like the people who matter. Maybe 4 or 5 people over the next 1,000 years listen to me and get what I'm saying, and then there's other people saying it as well, and then a few people get what they're saying. That's enough. I often think what if like I'm reading Mushin Culture, what if only I ever read him and really it was really inspired by it and really took it and used it practically in a way that he wanted to. What if that was only me ever? That would Mushin Culture be happy with that? I wouldn't be completely happy, but I'm not saying that is the case, by the way, by any means. And I know people who are outstanding, so believe me. But if that had been the case, would he have been happy? I certainly would. It's not the dream, because the dream is like there's something really valuable here that we want to share with people that can really help. The dream would be like people like Byron, really helping them to use the Xing Chuan practically in their bagua, to be able to use that, to link it into, to not have to make excuses, to not have to learn something that works like BJJ and then say, and kind of backfill the credibility of your Xing from that. There was someone else who used to do that. I've forgotten his name. He was quite famous at one time, but I didn't rate him either, to be honest. You could make his BJJ work, but then he used to say here it is in whatever Tai Chi or something, Xing, and just totally missing the point that it's not about the techniques. Just because the technique is there in Tai Chi, just because the technique is there in Bagua, that doesn't matter. That's not the issue. It's the training process. Like Yao Zhongzhun says, fighting isn't the outcome, it's the method. It's the method. You've got to keep that in mind all the time. So you've got these other people who they just can't get it. So I've spoken to people in Yichuan and they just can't get it, what I'm saying. It's not even what I'm saying. It's what Wang Shanzhai said. It's what Yao Zhongzhun said. It's what the Han brothers said. They'll say things like, I said before, I'm when I did karate, I did loads of sparring. Yeah, but did you do that sparring in harmony with the standing and pursuing the quintessence principles of wushu in a dialectical, ongoing training relationship? That's what makes you grow. That's the engine of growth. Or other people will say, yeah, but I've had 2 or 3 street fights and I did okay. It's yeah, but that's not the point. That's great, but it's not about fighting. It's about fight training as an integrated part of the system. And if you haven't got that, that's when you end up where it's just meaningless. You're just doing forms and you're just imagining I should bench chuan them in the face. And maybe you even will, maybe you'll be lucky. But we're talking about a method of training that's in theory training thousands of people. It's supposed to be, these videos are being followed by 10,000 people or something like that. Those 10,000 people aren't all going to be dead lucky and get bench chuan and make it work. What we're looking at is how do we give everyone the means to have the best possible chances of making it work. How do we do that? And getting your head into that space, it's not even a criticism, it's a gift. People get really upset about it. It's not even a criticism. I'm not even criticising Byron, I'm giving him a gift. I am criticising him, but I'm also giving him a gift. To get over that, to get to that gift, what you'd have to do is leave the point of feeling enriched. You'd have to leave behind the joy. You'd have to, they say eat bitter, don't they? But I don't necessarily think about it like that. But you'd have to swallow a bitter pill and let go of some of the illusion, some of the nonsense, some of the bullshit, some of the arrogance, and also the income. How many people have done that, let go of your income source. Just let it go. Let go of your status. Let go of your titles. Let go of the adulation of others. Let it all go and just accept the gift. The gift of being freed from all of that. And it won't necessarily make you happy, but that pretense doesn't make people happy, not really. It's just a pseudo happiness. It's nonsense. I'd die from the inside every day if that was what I was doing. So here's the thing, and like I've had to retake this, saying this, because it's like trying to find the right way of saying it. Like there's so many things that have happened to get where I am now that just weren't, that, you know, you can't say they were enriching. They were horrible in different ways, you know, like, and sometimes caused, well, of course, most of the time caused by my own behaviour, and the things that have been lost along the path for whatever reason, you know, like, you can let all that go, but there's always this sense of, well, I have this like single word outlook that just says anyway, like no matter what's happened, anyway, I've still got to just press on. Anyway, I've still got to just keep pursuing level and the truth of wushu. I've just still got to keep pursuing it. Anyway, no matter what. So I've done some stupid things anyway. I've just got to keep pressing on. So I've lost people that I love. Anyway, I've just got to keep pressing on. You know, and I suppose in a way, it's enriching. Like, but it's just not like that. It's just not like that. Like, and actually, there's no point. And this is something else that Wang Shanjai was really getting across. That I think people like. They think like they're going to get a really high wushu level and or win something or achieve something, and then they're going to feel like fulfilled. Actually, it's just the LARPing. It's just the role playing. It's just the dressing up and having people call you Sifu and all that, because you built a structure below you to support this sense of alienating horribleness that you call enrichment. You've built a cult around yourself and all this, not that people do. It's not enriching. It's not. But like pursuing the truth is also like just, it doesn't, you know, think you're going to be happy. Think you're going to be happy because you like one of my kids said to me once, like, he used a very interesting phrase. He said, yeah, you could knock out a poorly horse but with one punch, but what's the point? And he also said, he said you do all that training but you don't dare hit anyone because you might kill them. So I'm like, well, yeah, well, actually anyone can kill someone with a single punch. It happens all the time. The training is it's one of the things that Byron's kind of getting right, of course. Like, it's the training itself. It's not like it's not the destination that makes you feel enriched. This is where he's wrong, right? He thinks it's the training itself that's the point, right? And that's enriching. It's the training itself that's enriching, right? But the training isn't the point. The training isn't in itself the goal. If you think like that, then there's no direction. So you've got to think about, it's like, you know, if you ever hear someone explain evolution and they say like, there's no end point that things are evolving to, they're just evolving according to the environment. Like, but here you've got to think about it a little bit like there is an end point. So Yao Zongzun talks about the reality of the fight, and we know that covers a lot of different things, but the end point is the reality of the fight. And you then use that endpoint to work towards. That's the goal, not joy. If your goal is joy, you won't go over here towards real level. You'll go over here towards role play and meaninglessness. So you've got to go towards this endpoint, this goal point of the reality of the fight. And then that creates an environment, and that structures your training all the time. Everything's structured around this. And this also speaks to some other stuff. So people have been talking about, like, can we understand what Wang Shanjai was talking about? He's telling you himself that just by proceeding via intuition you can understand it. Then you've got people who want to believe so much that what he's talking about is some kind of mystical. Again, Wang Xianzhai talks about this, like I'm not putting words in his mouth, he's explicit and he uses this, in the ancient days, like they would, Chinese fortune tellers would write an oracle on like a turtle shell. He says like people think like that the real wushu is going to be found like on a turtle shell and you're going to find some formula or something like that. So whereas it's inside you, it's intuitive. So he actually says this explicitly. Then you've got other people saying, "Oh, we can't possibly understand him," because they think like he's a genius who's inherited this secret knowledge and interpreted the turtle shell and found the secret to the magic formula, and only by getting on your knees and grovelling to this charlatan somewhere in Europe, are you going to be told these secrets and all that. Like, he hated that. He's telling you all the time it's not like that, If you follow the reality of the fight and you explore these quintessence principles of wushu, which I admit, it's a lot easier if someone can save you a lot of time and show you those. And also, I don't believe that you can do this with Xing Yi Chuan or Bagua Tai Chi. I think you really do need someone to show you because they're set moves, aren't they? Like, they're kind of human-made. You can't just imagine, what a Bagua form should be. You can make one up, and it might be just as good, but if you want that, like, original, you can't just do that. But in each one you can, because it's just all about things about how your body moves. That's the essence that's behind all of them anyway. So each one is doing, just cut into the essence that's behind it, all of wushu. And I always say wushu is one art anyway. So you can, if you follow this process of the end point is the reality of the fight, then you can understand it. You can understand what Wang Xianzhai is talking about experientially. It's just that they've appointed such ridiculous expectations about what it is and what his level must have been. They can't achieve anything. They can't achieve anything. But that's a whole other story for each one, people. But for people more widely training in traditional wushu, if you follow this idea that Byron's talking about, that joy should be your goal, you are lost. I'm telling you, you're lost, right? And I'm also telling you, like, when you do it the right way, you won't necessarily be enriched. You won't have all this nonsense, for one thing. If you're truly following this path, you'll be ditching all your meaningless titles and your LARPing and your robes and your followers and all this meaningless structure of ego. It's just a scaffold to support a fragile human ego that we've all got. Yeah, it's just how we deal with that. You won't feel that same, you won't have that enrichment, because that's all illusion. It's just a deviation on the path. It's just like, there's this thing called crow traps. I don't know if you've ever seen it, out walking. It's supposed to be like environmentally friendly, to protect your crops. And it's like a trap, and whatever they do anyway, the crow can't resist going in it. And once you're in, that's it, like they can't get out. And they either go in the farmer's cooking pot or they get, I don't know, whatever happens to them. Nothing good. Not what the crow wanted anyway, which was eating the corn. And they're just crow traps, and you just get trapped in them. The reality is, like, out of people who are interested in wushu, 10,000 people could watch what I'm saying in this video and still willingly dive headfirst into that crow trap. That's the reality. Maybe one will be like, whoa, hold on a minute, I was interested in the real thing, and the real thing's far more interesting. The real thing's ace, the real thing's brilliant, and the real thing doesn't make excuses. So this is the danger, isn't it, with so all that Byron's really doing is making excuse videos all the time of why wushu people can't fight, and all this about, enriching your life and spirituality, and it's all shallow, meaningless. It's not meaningless in itself, is it? Like, it, because training of course, there's all these things that Byron talks about, but if your goal is joy, it won't be. It won't be. If your goal is just for no reason, you've just got to pursue the thing that's real. Not even this idea of truth. That's just another attachment. So this is your real depth of like Buddhist thinking that Wang Xiangzai's getting into here. Like, it's not even truth. It's just the real thing. The real thing like in terms of you can actually do it. You can actually do this thing in some kind of, and doing it means doing it like, as they make pretty clear, like not in a form on your own or anything like that. Nothing against forms training or anything like that. It's nothing to do with that. But it's the method itself. It should be fight training, and that's the only truthful path. And if people do that, then they'll understand what it really means to be enriched. But I'm telling you, it won't necessarily make you happy. It's just like the final, like, there's a wushu saying that at the top of the mountain there's just rocks. I love that. And also rocks are amazing, aren't they? Like, rocks can be a weapon, or you can build houses out of them. It's up to you what you do with rocks. The circle comes right around again, like, there's just rocks. Like, yeah, but rocks are everything, aren't they? Rocks are like the very first wushu, where someone picked up a stone and smashed someone's head in with it in an argument, like the very first weapon or something. But you can also build irrigation ditches and houses, and they contain minerals that can create computers and stuff. And so the Tao turns again. There's just the insight of it's brilliant, isn't it? But just that idea, like, you get to the top of the mountain, it's just rocks and a good view. You understand all this bullshit, but you've just got rocks for company. That's not necessarily going to make you happy. It's other things, it's other things that make you happy, and you always knew that. It's other things, other simple, amazing, wonderful things. The people that you've loved and lost in some cases. Believe you me, it won't take away a broken heart to be able to do what I do. You just think, anyway, I've just got to get up and go training.